Jets and Patriots just a moment away. First down to the field. Here's Tracy.
Well, thanks, Jim. Hope you're nice and cozy up there because it is frigid down here. The coldest game here since 2004. Both teams ready for the elements, though Tom Brady wearing a scuba suit underneath his uniform today. He told us it is all about mental toughness and patience. It will take a lot longer for those plays to develop because everyone moving at a slower speed. Which team handles the elements better today remains to be seen, Jim.
All right, Tracy. It is a little toastier up here in the booth. Tony's got all the warmers and heaters out.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. 13, wind chill -2. And yes, the coldest game since a playoff game against Tennessee in 04, but the coldest regular season game since 1977 at New England. So now the Patriots won and will receive, and the Jets, well, they don't go back-to-back weeks with an onside kick. This week they take it away, and Dion Lewis will accept the touchback.
Pretty successful last week when they did it.
They did. They recovered. Now here comes Tom Brady. And Brady, in his last 5 home games against the Jets, 11 touchdowns, no picks. Perhaps his 3rd MVP season. Who knows? Todd Gurley, one of those being mentioned prominently as well. Mason, the right guard, makes plays in every game. Sometimes doesn't get the acclaim that he deserves. Lewis coming off 129, a career high against the Bills. And on first down they go, Lewis. And he's got an opening for a quick 9. Tripped up in the secondary by Claiborne. Casey Rogers' defense did not sack Brady in that first encounter back on week 6. Here's Davis, their leading tackler. They got the pair of young safeties, including Jamal Adams, the 6th overall pick. And the Patriots were hurrying to the line, but there was a Jet player down, Claiborne, who was in on that last tackle. Mo Claiborne, you certainly are aware of what he can do, having been drafted into the league as a first rounder with the Cowboys.
Yeah, he continued to get better each year, and by the end he was really playing good football, and that got him a good contract in New York, and he's played good football this year. I mean, he's the guy who follows around the other team's best receiver, and he comes out and he has done a good job. I didn't really see where he got banged up.
Trying to bring down Lewis. His head got twisted a little bit, coming in from the side on that tackle, and thankfully on his feet.
Yeah, when he was running off the field, he almost went down, quickly, like he was running off the field, though, so it must have got him a little.
2nd and inches. Burris comes into the secondary to replace Claiborne. Back to Lewis they go.
I think you're going to see a lot of this today, Jim.
A lot of running attempts.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick wants to pound the ball, protect his players from any injuries, go get a win, comfortably, and just simplify this game plan. Tight ends, running backs.
Well, Bill's all bundled up, isn't he? Everyone is.
You need to be today.
Yeah, -2 wind chill again. Here's a first down snap from the 38. Up top they go. Devlin did not hold on. Incomplete. Well, you talk about running the football. They're going to be, again, shorthanded at running back with Burkhead, Gillislee, and White all inactive. So that leaves Josh McDaniels in this offense with Dion Lewis and Brandon Bolden, who's only taken 8 offensive snaps this year at running back, plus Devlin, the fullback, who they threw to on that last play.
Well, you can see already Devlin's been in the game a lot to start this game. That's going to be a heavy run type of look for New England on a lot of these first and second downs.
Here's a 2nd and 10, and Brady going up top. And this time he connects. Amendola takes the football to the Jets side of the 50. Pushed out by Burris. Picks up 16.
Just a simple out route.
Went right after the guy that had come in for Claiborne, Burris, and there was plenty of separation. And there's Lewis jumping outside and cutting back. And another good first down carry for him. He got away from the aforementioned Burris and cut upfield for 8 yards.
Not a good attempt right here. You're going to see, watch Burris right here try and make this tackle. Nope. And you see right there Dion Lewis showing his skills.
2nd and 2. And now from the gun. 3-man rush. Brady down the middle. And another connection with Amendola to the 29. So picking up good chunks here on first down plays. 9, then 8, then another 9 on this first down play. Well, now they give him 10. They actually mark it for a first down. So here we go from the 29, and the Jets make a play behind the line. And a tackle for the loss by Josh Martin.
New England finally substituting. Devlin goes out, the fullback, and they'll bring in Dwayne Allen, tight end.
One thing the Patriots made very clear in our discussions with them this week, they want to get off to a fast start in this game. They felt like the last few weeks they haven't had that pacing at the start they wanted. So they're driving here on this initial possession. 2nd and 13 to Lewis. And no gain as Demario Davis, their leading tackler, was with them all the way. This is an interesting little nugget. Tom Brady, all-time, 486 touchdown passes. You take the top 4 Jet touchdown leaders, led by Joe Namath, in combined, exactly the same number, 486.
I tell you what, somebody spent a lot of time on that, because that's a cool stat right there.
That is a very cool stat. Ethan Cooperson coming up with that one. That's how he enjoyed his holidays.
Well, I tell you what, when you got a great life like Ethan, who's in the booth with us right now, you can do those things. Nice job, Ethan.
3rd and 13. Complete to Amendola, and tried to wiggle his way past 3 Jets. Comes up a couple yards shy of the first. And the offense is still out there.
You can see a blitz off the edge, and right there Amendola knows he's hot. Call it a hot route, which basically means you're the hot receiver. You got to turn right away for the quarterback because they can't block this guy.
It's interesting. It really probably would have been 4th and 5 if not for the effort by Amendola. But at 4th and 2, they're going to challenge Todd Bowles and the Jets here and go for it. And pass, a chance for a 39 or 40-yard field goal try. It's Bolden in the backfield. And here we go from the gun on 4th down. Wide open. Amendola with the first. And his 4th catch on this opening drive.
Well, you're going to see a stack formation, and that allows one guy, who is Burris on that play, to be off coverage, and Amendola gets basically to do what he wants.
They are feasting on Burris after that first snap, and he comes in for Claiborne, and they picked on him. And he missed another tackle on a running play by Lewis. So first down from the 14. They come to the near side with Cooks. Cooks' screen is there and brings him down by the ankle.
Nobody's better than New England at attacking a weakness that happens within the game. A lot of teams go in at halftime or talk about it, how to attack when a guy goes down. New England does it within a drive. It's really, really unique and special.
Patriots trying to do what Pittsburgh's already done, and that's put a touchdown up quickly on the board. There's a 2nd and 3. Lewis, an opening, and a 1st and goal to go, running behind Shaq Mason. Lewis handling it 5 times down the field for 23 yards. Dorsett in the game to the left. Cooks wide to the right. 1st and goal. It's Lewis going outside, and he is close. They say touchdown. Marcus May tried to keep him short. So did Josh Martin. There's May. See on the players, his knee on the ground. They say across the plane.
Looking at his legs, does they touch the ground? That's a touchdown.
Yeah, you saw the nose of it cross the imaginary plane right there. That's a touchdown.
It's great effort by Lewis to extend the ball and also protect it and bring it back in.
13 plays down the field, Tony. 75 yards they cover.
You said they wanted to get off to a fast start. I think they did it.
Gostkowski for the extra point, and he delivers it. 5.5 minutes down the field they go for a quick 7 here by the Patriots. So Bryce Petty gets a chance to put the helmet on, take the field, or can he get the helmet on?
Well, no, you got to take your stocking cap off.
Yes.
Doesn't fit. Yeah, there it is. Good. A little bit. Yep.
There we go.
Ah, that's what it was. I knew I forgot something. And now he's like, the camera was right in front of me.
Yeah, I hope they didn't show it.
That's the worst. Anybody? It's all right. You can make up for it with a drive down the field right here, Bryce.
It's funny. I had to tell you the same thing when you put the headset on.
That's true. I was like, what is this piece of
How does this work?
New futuristic thing that you guys are using here?
So the Patriots come right out, march down the field, pick up 6 first downs, convert on a 4th and 2, and put up a touchdown.
Yeah, you don't want to give a team who's not playing for anything. You know, the Jets would really, I feel like in these type of games, the Jets need something to get themselves going. And as soon as you get down 14-17, you're going to see a lot of guys, especially in this weather, just be making sure they're not getting hurt. And a lot of that comes in the run game. You got to be willing to sacrifice your body to slow the run down by the opposing offense.
One bounce, picked up by Maxson. And look, he is swarmed by the Patriots. So what a way to begin. Petty takes the field for his 3rd start this season. He did start here last year on a game on Christmas Eve and was knocked out in the 2nd quarter with a shoulder injury in a game that went on to be a blowout win by New England, 41-3. Quali at right tackle. They're without Shell, out with the effects of the concussion suffered against the Chargers. Keep an eye on Robbie Anderson. He needs 61 yards today for a 1,000-yard season. And this might be against Dozier, who steps up as a starter.
Offense, number 70.
It is.
5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Brad Allen officiating over this one. So what a tough start here for Petty and the Jets. Down 7, taking a first snap from inside their own 10. They go with Powell. And Lawrence Guy and others have him surrounded. Petty was so discouraged with his own play last week in the game against the Los Angeles Chargers, a game where the defense held Rivers and company at only 14 points. But in the locker room after the game, Petty said, this team deserves better, this offense deserves better, and I know I can make those plays, because he missed so many open receivers. By all accounts this week, the coaches, the players we spoke to, he's had a solid week of practice. They want to see if they can carry it over to the field here today.
Yeah, they want to see him stay calm, stay just poised in that pocket. They need to see a little bit of that.
2nd and 14, and Powell again nowhere to run, and Guy's in on a 2nd straight tackle. Let's meet this Patriots defense of Matt Patricia. There's Flowers with 6.5 sacks on the season. Van Noy is back up after missing a couple of games with a calf injury. And by the way, they have James Harrison active today, signed this week. And Malcolm Butler had Robbie Anderson much of the way in the first game this year and had a pick. Held Anderson when he had him to 1 catch. Here's 3rd and 14. They play it safe. Powell, McCourty honing in on him. So was Butler. And the Jets, 3 running plays and a punt on the way. We've got an update.
Hey, Jim, you talked about this touchdown by the Steelers right before D.L. Lewis scored in your game. Here he comes. Hayward Bay. Darius Hayward Bay goes 29 yards. They take a 7-0 lead and are all over the Browns right now without many of their regulars playing. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Boomer. Yeah, they went inactive with Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell. An interesting move by Mike Tomlin, but they got the quick strike in that game. Here's the Edwards punt to Amendola, who retreats to the 28 to field it, and then is hammered down. Nice piece of tackling after he decided to run it out, and that was Hennessy, the long snapper, who pummeled him after the 54-yard boot.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. Macy's. And by Honda. Hurry into the Happy Honda Days sales event today.
Some of the images from 2017 with the Patriots interacting with their community, and now New England Second drive from the 35, 34-yard line, we call it. And coming out of the gun, Brady, all kinds of time to connect with Cooks. And that was Claiborne who bumped him out, who returns to the field after missing every play on that last drive but the first one. Let's go down to Tracy.
That's right. They diagnosed Morris Claiborne with a stinger. They evaluated him in the blue tent. They looked over the play as well just to make sure he didn't have a concussion. He is back out there, as you said, Jim.
Yeah, they really picked on his replacement, Justin Burris, in that drive for a touchdown. But a gain of 9 on the pass play, and Lewis picks up the first, just barely. Wednesday on CBS, it's a new Amazing Race in the new year. Teams that are tops in their field will compete for the $1 million prize. The Amazing Race season premieres Wednesday, 8/7 Central, only CBS.
Hey, Greta!
Brady incomplete with his first throw today. Now is connected on his next 7 of 8 for 59 yards. And now from under center, he's going to give it back to Lewis on first down, who works the middle and runs into the likes of Steve McClendon after a run of about 3. The thing about the Jets this year, Tony, they're 5-10. A lot of doomsayers out there at the start of the year said, how's this team even going to win a game? You know, people were making all kinds of outrageous predictions about them. But they've been competitive in virtually every game. I mean, Oakland week 2 beat them up pretty good. Denver shut them out here late in the season. But most weeks it's been like one-score games for them.
And that's how you can turn it around from one season to the next. If you're in a lot of games, the next year you just make an adjustment to get a quarterback, do something like that, and all of a sudden you're winning those close games.
Priority 1. Here's 2nd and 7, and up and over the top. Flag comes out. Cooks guarded by screen. Flag at the 34.
Well, Tom Brady, you can see his arm almost slow down, and when quarterback tries to hold it, that means there's something disrupted it right at the top.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 41. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
And you see Buster Screen hold him right there as Cooks was coming out, and Brady tried to slow his arm to let him get out of it, expecting him just to run away from him. And it's probably a good job, because that would have been a big play if he would have just throw, catch, probably 40, 50-yard play.
From the 47 of New York, Brady drops back 7. Launches it down the field to Cooks and just over his head. May on the coverage.
Tom Brady's going to be upset. Watch Cooks slow down right here. He had to run. Tom threw it perfectly. Cooks slowed down thinking that he wasn't going to get the ball. And then he tried to turn the Jets on, but Tom had already let it go, and Tom is not going to be happy right here. Watch. Let's see if he sees him. He's thinking right now, like, come on, Brandon. Don't slow up.
Gronkowski split out and now moved around into the slot on the right. 2nd and 10. They come to the left to Cooks. He dropped it for a moment. Was that a catch? Incomplete. 3rd and 10 coming up for New England.
Well, this ball should be caught right in the breadbasket, and Cooks looking where he's trying to go too early.
Very nearly was able to grab it before it touched the ground. But the nose was touching the playing surface. 3rd and 10. 19th snap of this game already for New England versus only 3 plays run by the Jets. Pressure. And Brady goes down for the first time this year against New York. David Bass got to him.
And you see Gronk off the ball. You got a guy on Lee underneath and a guy on top. Safety Adams. They're not going to let Gronk be the guy on big plays, and the pressure off the edge. Fleming lets Bass get around him for a big sack for fear the Jets.
That's the 34th time that Brady has been sacked this year. And that's the first sack by the Jets in the last 90 pass plays by the opponent. They had not had a sack the last 2 games. Allen able to pick it up and boot it down to about the 17-yard line where Natson makes the catch. 36-yard punt. Jets will handle it for the second time. Down 7. And there he is, the newest Patriot, signed just Tuesday, James Harrison. Taking the field for the first time as a member of New England. Here's Petty, his first pass is to Curse. Down the middle and all the way out to the 40. Harrison, one of those in on the tackle.
Just a little miscommunication. You're going to see a motion down, and you're going to see right here Curse just get open a little bit inside and a little busted area over that middle.
So Curse traded right before the start of the season by way of Seattle for Sheldon Richardson. He's had a good year. Robbie Anderson on the other side trying to get a 1,000-yard season today. Here's Powell. He's got a wide open area. Look at Powell chugging along inside the 40, and McCourty bounces him out near the 36. Picks up 24.
Just a poor job of getting over the top by Roberts, inside linebacker. That's his play to get all the way across the field. And well done sealing the edge.
Look at Powell, 7th year with the Jets after being drafted in the 4th round back in 2011 out of Louisville. He's had 4 runs this year, 40-plus yards. That's a single-season record for 40-yard runs. So now they go empty backfield and throw complete to Sterling. And Neil Sterling, the backup tight end. They're without Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who's inactive because of a rib injury, and that's just the second catch of the season for Sterling. Goes for 15. The first 3 plays Harrison's been on the field have gone all for big gains, 22, 24, and now 15 yards.
Yeah, they're all away from him, though. You can't blame him. They're on the opposite side of the field on each play.
And he steps to the sideline here as the Jets have moved it down to the New England 21. That's McGuire. Where's he going? Guy throws him down near the 30.
And Dozier, the right guard, watch right here. He's got to reach him. He's got to reach Guy, and doesn't quite get there. Guy does a good job getting a minus play.
Taking advantage of Dakota Dozier. And again, they're without Brian Winters, who was put on injured reserve after being out for the Charger game with an abdomen injury. He's already been penalized for a pre-snap infraction as well. 2nd and 18. We'll get back to McGuire, and Roberts has hold of him. Another negative play for New York, a loss of 1. Harrison was in there as well. So now, a little pressure on Petty.
Well, the conditions now are, there's no easy field goals, and now this is the direction you'd want to go. The other direction is more difficult, but any yards are good for a field goal. Anything over 45 yards today is going to be difficult.
Got to get to the 11 for a first. 3rd and 19. Pass thrown wide of the mark of McGuire, but Marquise Flowers was going to bring him down had he made the catch. Might have even been another negative play. So they'll bring out Cannizzaro, who's had a good year after being with Arizona his first 3 seasons. 23 of 27. He's made his last 11 attempts. It's going to be 48 yards.
Got a little, whatever wind there is, it's a little behind him, a little left to right. So this is the direction you want to go, but just, you know, that ball, it's a rock right now.
Cannizzaro is able to deliver the rock. Jets put up 3. They drive 52 yards in 7 plays. Patriots on top in the first, 7-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Very popular place to stand on the sideline on this chilly afternoon in Foxborough. Heated benches and all the cover you can get. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson back here at Gillette Stadium. And Lewis again opts for the touchback. In the last 25 seasons, the coldest games in Foxborough, there was a divisional playoff game against Tennessee back in '04 that usurps this one, but coldest regular season game in this span.
Yeah, this is it's low too, because you get 3 miles an hour wind, make it go back to like 1 degree, and you feel it out here.
Brady out of the backfield finds Lewis, and able to dodge right around one Jet, get near another first down. Let's go back to New York for another update.
Cleveland's D. I got to tell you, Jim, Tony Romo loves this. 4th and 1, give it to the fullback and see if we can fool the defensive line of the Browns. The Steelers had kicked the field goal. The Browns jumped off sides. The Steelers got a fresh set of downs, and they ran Roosevelt Nix right up into the middle for no gain, and they gave the ball back to Cleveland. 7-0 Pittsburgh.
Back to Jim Nantz.
All right, thank you, fellas. Steve McClendon is down. It's interesting, the psychology of it. Mike Tomlin's decision to not only not play Roethlisberger and Bell, but to have them inactive. Now, by chance this game was competitive in the second half, you don't have the luxury, if Cleveland's giving you a fit, to say, hey, Ben, go out there and win home field for us throughout. What did you think of that move?
I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I have not seen that. They're giving New England a ton of credit, and they're not giving the Browns a lot of credit either. So I tell you, if this New England game is close late, a lot of Pittsburgh fans could be upset if they were to lose that football game.
That's Lewis, brought down by Davis. I'll tell you another thing. If you're Todd Bowles and you're aware of this, I would think that'd be something I would share with the team before you take the field. I mean, what little respect you have for the Jets' chances is what you're saying if you're Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, you would use that. You talked about that before the game. You're like, man, if I'm Todd Bowles and I heard that, I'd tell my team. They think that we have no chance of winning this game.
They think this is a walkover.
Yeah, they've already wrapped up their season, and that's you could use that as motivation, no question.
2nd and 12. Brady, play action, ball comes out, and it's ruled incomplete. Tried to kind of throw it in the direction to Brandon Bolden. 3rd and 12 on the way.
You see Leonard Williams get up inside. Right here, you're going to see a little shovel pass by Brady to get rid of the ball, but he takes a hit on the way down.
Okay, can the Jets defense take him off the field in a hurry for the 2nd consecutive series? Jets rush 5. Pass is incomplete as Brady got rid of it in a hurry in the direction of Amendola. So what have the Jets done differently here, the 2nd and 3rd drives versus that opening series?
Well, on the 2nd drive, they caught a break on Brandon Cooks running down the field and slowing down. That was a touchdown play.
Right.
And then really there's a couple miscommunication out of New England a few times. You see Brady talking to Amendola. He's like, get your head back. You're open quickly. I can throw it to you and you can run after catch. And right now they'll give the Jets credit. They're disrupting the timing.
You saw Brady and Gronkowski talking. Gronk has not been targeted so far in this game. Allen delivers a spiral to Natson. Backs up to the 15 and brought down by Jones. Beautiful piece of tackling by Jonathan Jones. And the Jets again will start deep in their own territory. 52-yard punt. We're so much in the AFC playoff picture, other than who will be the top seed. It will be decided in the late set of games we're going to have coming up. Baltimore and Tennessee both have one scenario, the easiest path. If they win, they're in. But a loss by either one of them triggers all kinds of scenarios for the Chargers and the Bills. And all this is going to be sorted out late this afternoon on CBS.
Yeah, the only place to be able to get any of that information is if you're watching CBS, so you're going to have to tune in.
Good job on the promos there. And McGuire, he's had a rough go of it. His first carry lost 8 yards. And this one wasn't that pretty either. So he's now got 3 rush attempts for -9. It brings us to the end of the first quarter. Patriots take the opening kick, drive down the field with that touchdown by Lewis, lead 7-3 after 1. The start of the second quarter at Gillette Stadium on a frigid afternoon. Jets 2nd and 10. Drove it the last time they had the football to a field goal from 48 yards out. Fake to Powell. Petty looks down the field, down the middle, on target. On target to Sterling, who has a second catch, second big play of the game for Neil Sterling, third-year player out of Monmouth. There is a flag down.
From the end of the play. Automatic. First down.
Sterling's going, Flowers has got to get there. Get there, Flowers. And Petty with a great throw, fitting it right between them.
It's a late hit on New England, plus it was low on Petty.
That's a penalty. Can't hit the quarterback below his knee. At the knee level or down, and let's see.
Malcolm Brown. Ooh.
You're going to get called for that.
This puts the football all the way to the Patriots 36.
Oh, Pittsburgh doesn't want to see it.
No.
Actually, they do. They do want to see it. But boy, Mike Tomlin's going to be sweating if New England starts losing this football game.
And picked up in all with the pass play and the penalty, 50 yards. Go back to Powell. Just a tiny opening in game 1. And back to James Harrison. It's been such an interesting fallout since he signed. And a month ago, if somebody would have said James Harrison would be playing for the Patriots, it would have been borderline treasonous to a lot of Steeler fans to even suggest that could ever be a possibility. And then some of the Steeler players reacted rather strongly about Harrison, what he wasn't doing in team meetings and all that. But Harrison came back, replied through an Instagram posting about how it's a business and how he had been asking several times during the season for his release. He wanted to play. He didn't want to cheerlead, as he says. 2nd and 9. McGuire finally picks up positive yardage and a first down. All right, for more on this Harrison story, Tracy, all yours.
Well, Jim, the Patriots are thrilled. Bill Belichick actually brought Harrison into a meeting when he signed on Tuesday, said to Brady, I have an old friend of yours here. And Brady just cracked up. And then Harrison threw up an Instagram pic and said, finally, someone who's older than me alongside Brady. So they are thrilled to have him right now. We'll see how he can help this team down the stretch of this season.
39-year-old Harrison on the sideline for this play. First down for the Jets. Walker's in front for Powell. He runs right into the back of Dozier. What did you make of all the talk back and forth this week about the Harrison signing at Pittsburgh? Some of the Steelers?
Well, you get different guys at the end of their careers. What happens is he wants to play, and it's not worth it for him to just be a guy on a team, you know, and everyone wants a great teammate. But these are proud individuals who have played football for a long period of time, and I don't think James Harrison would have signed back if he'd have known what his role was going to be. And I think he thought he got lied to a little bit, you know, whether we don't know the ins or outs, but I think he felt like they were telling him he was going to dress every week, and then he never would, and so that got him upset. But you know, he obviously didn't go about it the right way. Fumble!
And the Patriots recover. Jets try a trick play. Natson fails to hold on to it.
It might be incomplete, Jim. That could be incomplete.
Seeing if, yes, it was ruled incomplete on the field.
That's a forward pass right there. That is an incomplete pass right here.
How about that?
It's like a shovel. You've seen a shovel that that's an obvious fumble, but by rule that's an incomplete pass. Jets get away with one.
Yes, they do. And they live to see third down, 3rd and 8 from the New England 23.
That's why you pitch it instead of hand off to receivers in motion, though, in case something like that happens.
Rush 5, Petty going deep and over the head. Hits the pylon with the pass. Intended for McGuire, and they'll go for another field goal try from 40 plus.
Yeah, he had him. He had him by about 2 or 3 steps. And McCourty gets run by, and the ball's just too far for McGuire.
So Cannizzaro kicked one in the other direction with a little bit of favorable wind. This one slightly against. 40 yards it is.
I think anything in this direction is hard. This will be interesting to see.
Well, that's hooking. No good. Romo knew it. Snap wasn't great either. Patriots' fourth drive. They're going touchdown, punt. 3 plays and a punt the third time. Look at the patience by Lewis. And he goes ahead for a gain of 3. That last drive, some communication issues.
Yeah, he's signaling Amendola, and he's like, pick route. Amendola sees it, and he runs it. You got to get your head back. And Tom's upset with him. He's like, Danny. And he goes, remember, Danny, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But 3 rights, they make a left.
Is that Caddyshack?
Pretty good there.
Is that what that is?
That's pretty good, Jenna. You had it.
2nd and 7. Brady steps up. Incomplete. We've got an update. He was trying to hit Kenny Britt there. We're going to try to hit JB and Boomer with the update now.
Steelers special teams.
And how about Landry Jones? Landry Jones having a pretty good day. 8 of 11, 97 yards. This touchdown pass to Juju Smith-Schuster. They take a 14-0 lead. It looks like the Browns just completed a long touchdown pass to Josh Gordon. So could be 14-6 pending on the outcome of the official ruling.
That came off of a partially blocked punt. All right, Jim Nance.
All right, good job, Boomer, on the immediate update with the Browns countering with a score. Landry Jones with a touchdown pass to Smith-Schuster. Brady has hit one of his last 6 passes. He's got 3rd and 7. Here come the Jets. And Brady just cuts his losses. Dives down at the 27.
You're going to see a blitz right here off the left side, and it makes Brady step up into the pocket. And great job pushing the pocket.
2nd sack by New York.
Todd Bowles keeping him off balance. I'm really glad they re-signed Todd Bowles. I really think he's a good football coach, and he does a good job getting these guys prepared, and they're just missing a couple pieces. But I thought they actually, like you said earlier, they came on this year. They're showing signs, and they're not there yet. And every Jets fan in the world wants to see, them find a quarterback. And that's why so many people want to see Hackenberg at some point as well.
Well, the Johnson brothers made it clear before the season they wanted to see progress, not necessarily playoffs, because again they purged. They let go of so many big salaried players. And there definitely was progress and a great attitude around that team. Fair catch by Maxson at the 28. 7-3 Patriots, 2nd quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by GMC. Driven by GMC. Live like a pro. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about.
Showed you earlier the Patriots interacting with their community, and that was a good look at the Jets taking part in many special occasions, giving back to their communities this season. So since that opening drive, the Jets have out-yardaged, if you will, the Patriots by quite a bit, although they'll lose one here. Malcolm Brown in on Powell for a loss of 1. Since that New England touchdown to start the game, 110 yards picked up by the Jets, only 13 for New England.
It's exactly the way the Jets want this game to go, and one drive right here puts you in the lead at Gillette and gets everyone thinking we can win this game.
Petty, 4 of 7 for 83 yards. Open to Curse. As McCourty dances around to pick up a 1st down. We've got another update. Right back to the studio we go with JB and Boomer.
Big play by Cleveland sets this up, Jim.
That's right. After the Josh Gordon TD was overturned by a replay, Duke Johnson takes it in from 2 yards out. Steelers now lead 14-7 over the Browns.
Will it be win number 1? Back to Jim Nance.
So will it be? That's the question. After a 1-win season a year ago, trying to avoid what the Lions did almost a decade ago, going winless.
I'm telling you, if Pittsburgh's front office is watching this game,
Saying, what are we doing?
they're watching their game, and that's close, and this one they're going to be just sweating.
Oh, Petty. That's the kind of thing right there. And he says it's on me. Powell was open. In fact, Petty could have kept it. Picked up good yardage as well.
Well, this is where he's got to get to. Just softly, just throw it. And, you know, some of that is just error on mechanics. And see how open his left shoulder is? He's got to turn it, close it a little bit to be able to throw it out in front. That's a poor throw.
Well, Petty talks openly about how his footwork has to improve. It becomes second nature to get over the hump, as he says. Well, some of his throws down the field have been pretty good here today. Here's a 2nd and 10. Breaking outside Powell. Now tries to cut it back. No gain. Lawrence Guy having a very active start to this game. In on another hit. The former Raven making plays. Third and 10 on the way for the Jets. We've not had a 3rd down conversion in this game by either side, and Petty doesn't like what he sees. Plus, the play clock was about to wind down.
Yeah, he had a motion from the back still, and the back didn't know the play. And you see right there, McGuire, he's telling him.
Next Saturday, an SEC showdown. Florida takes on Missouri, and on Sunday, Big Ten action. Michigan State and Ohio State. College basketball next weekend on CBS. So Petty just missed a throw in the open. Little pass from a couple yards away. He was wide of the mark. But what have you thought so far, what you've seen?
Yeah, he's playing well today. I think right now will be a big step. You know, they protect him a little bit early on a 3rd down, a couple of them. But right now he has a chance. They're going to ask him to most likely do something here.
Patriots rush 4. Petty. Incomplete, dropped by McGuire. Would not have been anywhere close to a 1st down anyway. The Patriots were on it.
Petty actually does a good job. He's about to throw it, and if he would have, it would have been a pick to the house probably, and he recoils and just gets rid of the ball. Not much there. Not much time to get down the field.
He has not targeted Robbie Anderson in this point. To this point in the game. Again, Anderson needing an average game really just to have a 1,000-yard season. Just as we haven't seen Gronkowski targeted on the Patriots side. Punt goes back to the 12-yard line. Amendola right up the middle for a 16-yard return. Tackled by Miles. Brady coming out with a 7-3 lead. Some hardy fans at Gillette Stadium. Even bringing out the ski goggles. Hoping their Patriots offense can get going here. Nothing to show since the first drive of the game. However, Dorsett does not hold on. Had his hands on it. Had a step on May. And it falls incomplete.
And Dorsett is open, and Brady throws this perfectly. Oh, he didn't even have to dive. Dorsett. Oh, you want to get on the field and get packages for you, you got to make those plays. He's got speed, he's got ability, but boy, your quarterback needs to trust you. 2 big plays the Pats had now.
Long downfield throws.
Yeah,
could have been something. Here's a 2nd and 10. Brady rolling out, plants the feet and fires short of Amendola. Jets have gotten to Brady a couple of times, so pressure unlike the first matchup between these two.
That's why they're moving him like that last play right there. But watch, double team on Gronk here, and you get pressure on the edge from Bass, and it gives up. And then all of a sudden you're going to see a 5-6 man rush right here, and just the pressure up the middle makes Brady go down. Doesn't have time to wait, as all the routes were downfield routes. So good job by the Jets, both on third down, which is when you want to create it.
And here comes a 3rd and long, 3rd and 10. How many will they rush? It's 4. They give him the time, and the pass incomplete, but a flag comes out. Claiborne on the coverage.
Well, he definitely held. I actually think Burris was holding Kenny Britt a little bit, but we'll see who they call it on.
Holding. Defense number 32. 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
They got it on Burris.
Yeah, I saw him at the top when he was running his route. He ran a simple out route. And you'll see to the left over here, watch the simple out route here. He's going to go inside, and Burris grabs him right there. And he doesn't need to, as he had double coverage help with safety over the top.
So, new set of downs, New England. Goes to Lewis. Man, what a play right there. Just thrown down by Pennell. And Pennell getting a lot more action today with Muhammad Wilkerson, once again a healthy scratch.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion there.
Wilkerson, who was...
Why don't you go ahead and just tell us all about that?
Well, the Jet fans certainly know it. He was in the doghouse anyway a couple of weeks ago. He was late for another meeting. So, last week he was inactive, healthy, and of course they don't want to risk having to guarantee his contract next year, which is the largest one on the team. Here's Lewis. And he's about a yard shy of the first. You saw Wilkerson. He's on the sideline. And again, inactive for the game. He was due $16.75 million next year. And if he was to play and get hurt, the Jets would be on the hook for that. Otherwise, as everybody expects, they'll cut him and save them $11 million on the cap next year. Lewis, oh, look at him fight through a tackle. Cooper had him, but I think the second effort may get the first down here.
Yeah, they're signaling first down, and get back to Wilkerson in a sec, but great effort by Lewis. That's in the backfield, and he fights right through Cooper's tackle and finishes the play. The extra effort. But back to your point, there's so much business involved at this time of the year. You can't allow him to play in that game if you're, I don't know for sure they're getting rid of him, but the writing's on the wall, right?
Oh, definitely.
And for that amount of money, if he played in this game and got hurt, you owe that guy that kind of money. That kills your cap if you're planning on getting rid of him.
There's Lewis for a couple. We keep the updates coming. We love it. Let's go back to JB and Boomer.
Help from an expatriate.
That's right. Stephen Ridley's going to go in from 4 yards out as the Patriots and the Browns trade touchdowns. Steelers now lead 21-7. Those Patriots better wake up.
Jim, Tony, and Tracy.
Okay, so 21-7 again with the Steelers win and the Patriots lose. So put Pittsburgh in the 1 seed spot for the playoffs. Play action. Brady throws the defense.
He's got him way open.
Pass down the field. Should have been intercepted. There's going to be interference anyway on May.
This is a busted coverage, Jim, and they somehow got back to it. And the Jets got away. They held them.
Pass interference. Defense number 26. By rule, the ball is placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic. First down.
May never turned around until the pass was getting there. He'd caught up to Cooks.
And there's no poise. And you see, Tom's excited because Cooks decided to go deep. He had a different route, but because of the busted coverage, he decided to go, and Tom was excited. And you see May down right now.
May pointing to his right ankle, Achilles area. He's been, again, a second-round pick out of Florida. These two rookie safeties, Adams and May, giving this defense something to build around in the future. Adams, the first rounder out of LSU, and May, the second rounder. Hops to his feet, but he might need help. These two kids back there, though, we visited with Todd Bowles this week, and there's, again, so much optimism about what to build around. You take that safety spot, those two kids, that gives the Jets some promise.
Especially in this system. I mean, right now, they're just missing that edge rusher, the guy on the outside. What they're doing is they have the interior, but teams are double teaming the interior of the D-line, and they're putting one-on-one on the edge rushers. And the edge rushers for the Jets this whole season just haven't won enough. That's the biggest thing defensively. Get an edge rusher, this defense will be good quickly.
Miles comes in for him as Mabe walks straight up the ramp toward the locker room. After the 42-yard penalty, Lewis for a gain of 1. Jets defense has been called for 2 holding calls on pass plays, including one at the start of this drive that was on a 3rd and 10. And 1 long pass interference call we just saw for 42 yards. Casey Rogers, their defensive coordinator, in our visit with him, talked about getting this team off the field on 3rd down and disrupting the quarterback, which they had not done in the first matchup. 2nd and 8. To Lewis. 3 Jets are there. Again, he makes the extra effort to pick up a first.
Well, you see the subtlety in the 2 quarterbacks here. Tom Brady throws this ball right out in front of Lewis where he can catch it. And you remember just the throw earlier by Petty, and this is where you got to develop as young quarterbacks and really to play at a high level and beat. Look at that great second effort. To beat, you just got to be accurate on the nondescript plays, I call them. The ones that no one will remember tomorrow, but it was perfect. Right in front of the guy, allows him to run after catch.
1st and goal. Lewis trying to maneuver around a couple of Jets. Picks up 2. No, Gronkowski has not been called in this game, but this is the area on the field where you might expect it coming up.
We'll find out what Todd Bowles' plan is. The unique thing about both these defensive coaches, the head coaches for both teams, who are the defensive guys as well, is they're going to stop your best player. They're going to try to take away your best player on both sides. So,
2nd and goal from the 5. Brady looking in the end zone. Now gets rid of it for the touchdown to Cooks.
the 2 corners are going to run into each other. You're going to see Buster Screen over on this side of the field. He's going to run into Mo Claiborne right there. Both Jets guys. See, Brady just had to wait it out and decide. You see right there, Buster Screen runs right into Mo Claiborne and gives an easy New England touchdown.
Cook's 7th touchdown as a Patriot. Extra point, good. Brady, touchdown pass number 31. And we'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Fidelity Investments. So the Patriots this time go 73 yards in 10 plays. The biggest play, though, was the penalty for 42 yards. Plus an earlier defensive holding call that came on 3rd and 10. Otherwise, it would have been another 3 and out. And it's 14-3 with 4:14 to go in the first half. Anything to keep you warm. Matson wants to turn on the speed right now, but runs out of room. Let's get another update. JB and Boomer, give us the story.
Hey, Jim, no quit by the Browns.
That's right. Right as Brandon Cooks was catching his touchdown pass, this happened in Pittsburgh. This is Rashad Higgins, his first touchdown as a Brown, as an NFL player. 56 yards. Back and forth they go. Steelers lead 21-14.
Back to Jim Nantz.
Okay, so the Browns with 2 touchdowns in that second quarter. And there they are. New England with a win. Again, takes the 1 seed throughout the playoffs, having clinched already a first-round bye, the Patriots, for the 8th consecutive year.
That's unbelievable.
Here's Anderson with his first handle, and it goes for only a couple. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report. We're going to go back to JB and Boomer, along with Phil and Nate and Coach Cowher, for the latest scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. They officially call that a rush for one, not a catch. Jets bring in fullback Lawrence Thomas. And the Patriots on him right away. Powell dropped for a 2-yard loss. We've got an injury update. Back down to Tracy.
Yep, that's right, Jim. An update on free safety Marcus May of the Jets. We saw him walk off the field. He was then carted to the x-ray room. I am told it is a right ankle injury. His return is questionable.
All right, Tracy. The way he hobbled off the field, I'd be surprised to see him come back. Who knows? 3rd and 11. Petty in trouble and hammered down inside the 20. And that's Flowers, who came up with 2.5 sacks last week against the Bills. In the backfield, making another play this week.
He's right outside, and you're going to see him come right around the edge. Gets chipped, almost helps him. And the pressure created by Butler up the middle.
Boy, is he coming on. Marquise Flowers.
Boy, they've needed someone to play that high tower kind of role. And he's starting to show that he can be that guy. That's, I think it's like 3.5 sacks now in the last 2 games.
Yeah, that's it.
6 quarters. Yeah.
First sack of the game for New England. Amendola from the 40. Spins around a couple of times and falls at the 43. 2:01 to go in the first half. Again, Gronkowski having a quiet day of it in the passing game. Has not even been targeted. And here's the reason why. Look what the Jets are doing to him.
Yeah, they're passing him off. They got a linebacker playing underneath, and then they got a safety over the top. And here was the one time he had an opportunity, but screen came into the play, and I really feel like, you know, in some ways, you see how there's openings for New England away from him. Use him to clear space out and have someone come right in that same spot. And I think you'll see New England do more of that and as this game goes on. See what they do with 2:01 here.
Holden, the running back. They fake to him. And Dorsett holds on to it this time for a first down in New York territory. Brady and the Jets, Brady and the Patriots up 14-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Tostitos. Tostitos gives back to Salvation Army. And by Verizon. Best gifts on the best network.
Back with the Patriots having scored in the last 2 minutes, 11 out of 15 games this year. And on the first down from the 47, that's Bolden running hard down to about the 37. This was the touchdown pass to Cooks.
Look at that technology, the 360 stuff, and you see you get all the way around and guys hitting each other. Not a good sign.
And that's Bolden spinning around. And where do they spot it? They give him the first down.
You got plenty of time. New England don't need to use the timeout until you hit about the 1 minute mark, and that depends where you are on the field as well. Right now you're huddling up. You can tell, obviously, they've ran the ball twice in a row. They're not worried about the time. After this play, you'll start to get a little more aggressive getting up to the line of scrimmage.
Flags are out.
Encroachment. Defense number 75. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Are you
on
sure?
Cooper.
Are you sure it was 75? I was pretty sure it was 75, 99, 92, 96, 58, 33, 7.
Take your pick, right? Who broke the plane first?
Yeah, all of them.
Fourth defensive penalty against New York. 1st and 5 with 1:02 to go.
See the motion right there? That subtle little motion just to see coverage, who's guarding him.
Brady steps up in the pocket, and no flag this time.
Great push right here by the Jets defense when they blitz all 6. But this is the matchup you got to watch. Look at the back. This is how you can create pressure up the middle on quarterbacks. I would send a linebacker all day against a running back. That's your chance to get Brady off the spot. And Brady has to throw it with a little bit of a protected throw because he was so quick getting the pressure on him.
And Demario Davis decked him after the throw. Sets up a 2nd and 5 with 57 seconds to go in the half. That pass incomplete. Intended for Amendola. Coming up again, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Cowher. The latest scores, highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. 8 of Brady's 11 completions are to wide receivers. You know, usually it's a heavy load with passes out of the backfield, passes to tight ends. They've not targeted a tight end in this game.
That was the Jets' plan. They weren't going to let Gronk beat them.
3rd and 5. Chasing after Brady. Unloads it in time and over the head of Amendola.
Yeah,
and another flag coming out on the Jets defense. And another one coming on 3rd down.
They're going to get him for the hold right here because Amendola tries to go back the other side of the field, and sure enough, Justin Burris getting picked on.
Holding. Defense number 32. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
Watch Burris right here. And he doesn't need to grab him there. He just like holds him for no reason. You gotta have poise at the really at the end of the play. That's where it always happens. You gotta have that little bit of poise. I mean, that's his 2nd defensive holding penalty already in the first half.
And that's the 4th time the Patriots pick up a first down because of penalty, by way of penalty. And now with 45 seconds to go. From the 26. And that pass incomplete. Jordan Jenkins, one of those who was in the area of Brady when he was throwing it. So Tom is 11 for 22, 50% in this game. He was 20 of 38 in the first game against the Jets, just a little over 50%.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, there's a couple of reasons. One, they're taking away the one guy who's the best matchup one-on-one. He's having to protect a lot of throws. He's had pressure in this game. He's doing a good job managing the game. And you see they're up 14-3, even though it isn't flowing for him.
2nd and 10. Coming after him. Pass gets away in time to Lewis. Again makes a defender miss. That's the hidden yardage he brings to the dance, and it's pretty considerable. We've seen it several times today.
And you see him out in the flat right here. Once he makes this catch, he gets his eyes and there's Buster Screen coming up. Nope.
He should almost run that soundtrack every time he gets the football. Because it applies.
Not really sure what that sound is.
Go ahead,
like
just do it next time you got the ball.
And here you go. Do you want me to do the play-by-play on this one?
Well, wait till Lewis gets the ball in his hands.
Well, I want him to hand it off here. Can we hand it off?
He's on the sideline for this play. Bolden is the running back. 3rd and 1. In to round the Cooks.
There's an end around.
And it's Cooks to the 10. Down at the 5. I really need that on some sort of like swerving maneuver wiggle like play.
Tom Brady with a big block too.
Yeah. Back at 30 seconds after this from T-Mobile. Coming out of a timeout by New England, and 1st and goal at the 5. Lewis returns to the backfield. Fake to Lewis, rolling out, now they give it to him. Lewis in for the 2nd time in this game. He had 2 touchdowns last week against Buffalo. 2 more in the first half today.
Perfect execution. Now watch, you're going to see, that's his guy. You got to go get there, Davis. Run! Run! Lewis too fast, gets outflanked, and it's an easy throw catch. And that's the exact same throw Petty had earlier and just missed on. And Brady puts it right in front of the numbers.
So Lewis has run for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, exactly what he did against the Bills, 1-1. And how about for the 12th time in 16 games, the Patriots score in the last 2 minutes of the first half. 75% success rate.
When you have a quarterback who's run the 2 minutes so many times, I mean, they get you on their heels. He knows how to call the play at the line, the rhythm. He knows exactly the timeouts, what yard lines for field goals. It just makes it, you feel so comfortable as a coach letting him go out there and play in that moment. And, you know, there's only a handful of teams who have a guy who can go out and do that, you know, who's done it for, you know, over 10 years. And, you know, you're looking at maybe the best.
And for Lewis, who was certainly making his presence felt late in the season, he's been able to handle pretty much all the load since Burkhead went out a couple of weeks ago with a knee injury. He has his 3rd touchdown, does Dion, in 6 quarters against the Jets this year. Had one in the earlier 7-point win, week 6. 2 more today.
It's amazing how New England can do this, though. And like Tom didn't exactly light up the first half. You know, and they're up 21-3.
Let's get down to the sideline. Tracy, all yours.
Well, Jim, it is still cold down here. The wind is certainly picking up, and the sun is going down, so it is definitely still frigid here in Foxborough, as I am bundled up and staying as close to a heater as possible. The players, they seem to be handling it just fine.
Well, thank you, Tracy. Yeah, that's a good place to hang out. Right by those oversized heaters.
And there's Tracy getting ready for the game today.
Yeah, getting ready for this cold weather game. We were up here attending practice, you know, in sub-zero weather.
We're out here testing the climate and everything, and there's Tracy.
Into the first half, New England leads at 21-3. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me football scores.
Well, this was a 7-3 game until late in the second quarter. And then the Patriots put up a couple of touchdowns, a touchdown pass to Cooks, and then a touchdown pass to Lewis, his second of the game. And 21-3, I'm starting to wonder if the second half, perhaps the Jets may give us a little peek at Hackenberg for the first time.
Yeah, I think you got to start Petty starting off. And
Definitely.
I mean, he didn't play a poor first half, just didn't get enough points, obviously. And
not to blame him at all. It's just the fact that there's been all this speculation. He got some first-team reps this week that maybe they would, you know, if the situation was right, they would play Hackenberg. So
I think you're right. If you're a Jets fan, you want to see him at some point, right?
Right. I mean,
never got an opportunity.
Again, Petty hasn't been awful today by any means.
No,
it's just, you know, if nothing materializes here on this opening drive, which, again, the Jets will get the football to start the third quarter, you just might have a chance to see this second-year kid out of Penn State who was drafted in the second round has never played in a single down in a regular season game.
Well, you see that right there. See how he's got the ski mask? He's got the whole full coat on. I think it was my rookie year, the same thing happened, and Chad Hutchinson was on the sideline with the Dallas Cowboys, and Bill Parcells turns around and he looks at Chad, and he's wearing the ski mask. You could only see his eyes, and he goes, "You're never going to play for a team with me if you're going to look like that. I don't think you want to go out there." And I'm right over there in a ski mask the same way, and I'll take mine right off.
There's McGuire out of bounds at the 30. Before you got the wrath of Parcells, you knew better.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm not. Like, I'm out of here. I wore no ski masks ever.
So that's how you made it, huh? As an undrafted kid.
He got lucky. He wasn't staring at me. He was looking for somebody.
All right, so the Jets in that first half put up 114 yards of offense. Petty 5 out of 10 for 97 yards. Powell 34 on the ground. Anderson without a catch. See if there's any adjustments. That's Trey Flowers with the quick wrap hold of Powell. And a gain of 1. Tracy, back to you.
Jim, you guys are talking about whether we could see Christian Hackenberg. Well, that is the question I asked Ty Bowles coming out of the locker room, and he said no. He said Bryce Petty is playing a good game right now. He's missed a throw or two, but the key for them is to run the football. And then defensively, they need to cut down on those penalties, Jim.
Yeah, that's been really, truly the biggest difference in this game is the fact that the Jets gave up all those defensive holding and that one long DPI for 42 yards that set up the score. 2nd and 9. And a completion over to Tomlinson. He'll set up 3rd and about 5. So it's dropped from 13 to 12 since the opening kick.
I can feel that.
Could you?
Yeah,
I saw it.
It's gotten a little chilly here.
So you take your shoes off and put your feet right up against the heater.
You could do that in here, couldn't you?
You did do that.
No.
Come on.
You don't have it on video,
Hey, Parcells isn't listening. Don't worry about it. Okay. Statute of limitations. You're fine.
3rd and 5, Jim. It's a big play. Here we go.
Nice. Change of pace. Petty completes it. Anderson brought down right away by James Harrison. And he's stoked about it.
I don't love this decision. You're going to see he's going to come across the field, but watch the tight end go on the other side. Right there. He's at 5 yards. There's 3 New England defenders in a zone to the right. And I understand sometimes that's your number 1 read, but it's got to be able to get 5 yards there.
So with Harrison, the Patriots now have the oldest offensive player in Tom Brady in the league and the oldest defensive player in Harrison at 39. The punt to Amendola through traffic out to the 28. And the flag comes out. The Jets actually have been penalized only 10 times this year on special teams, 2nd fewest in the league. Let's see who this marker's against. Might be against you'd think the Patriots. It's going to be against New England. Maybe Batamosi.
What did he do?
About to show you right now after this call by Brad Allen.
There are 2 fouls by the return team on the play. During the return, illegal blocking the back, number 31. That penalty will be accepted. It will be 1st down. There was also a personal foul by the return team. That penalty will be declined. 1st down. Timeout.
Here's the declined one right here. You can tell these two have been going toe to toe. And
that's the equation. Cold weather, Tom Brady equals Super Bowl.
And you see those guys, none of them have families. Happy New Year, everybody.
Nice. Their families at home saying what?
Yeah, they're like, we're not going. You can take your buddies. That's what that was.
1st and 10, handoff to Dion Lewis, who actually did something that hasn't been done by a Patriot player in 53 years. He has caught and rushed for touchdowns in consecutive games, the first to do so for New England, that is, since the great Larry Guerin, 1964.
Wow.
He's also had 8 first downs in the game, including 2 touchdowns, while the Jets for the game have 7 as a team. Here's a 2nd and 3. Jets on him this time for a loss of 1. It's becoming a little bit of a habit now. He scores a touchdown, finds a CBS camera. This was against Pittsburgh.
Oh, I remember this. He goes up to the camera.
Yeah. Boom. Take that. And then today.
I tell you what, Dion Lewis, CBS is going to give you a nice check and fine you, because those cameras are not inexpensive.
You got Diamond?
$76,000. That's it. They're just being playful.
I feel like that was our producer's paycheck this year.
3rd and 4. And a long pass to Cooks. Knocked down by Claiborne. And the Patriots bring out the punting unit here, 4th and 4 on their first possession. Second half, 3 and out.
You're going to see Cooks get behind Claiborne and the ball just a little inside late. Allows Claiborne to catch up and get both hands on the ball, actually.
Claiborne's such a high pick for you guys at Dallas, and it took a couple of years before he really got comfortable in the league.
It really did, and, you know, they missed what he had when he played at his best. He was just hurt a little too much from time to time, but...
Jets will take over at the 40, ringing in the new year. He's already got 5. There's a 6 on the way here in a month.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. AT&T. And by 12 Strong. In theaters January 19th.
Shots from the Patriots Hall of Fame at neighboring Patriot Place. Now the Jets' best starting point of the day from the 40. Hand off to Powell, and he slides out for about 4. By the way, Brady's won 2 regular season MVP awards. And what did he do with the trophies? He's donated them to the Hall of Fame.
Well, because one day he's going to make enough money to buy his own house.
That's what it is.
And he'll probably get them back then.
Yeah.
But until he decides to go there, you know, Tom has so many accolades, so many trophies. He's about Super Bowls, isn't he? Isn't that what he told you?
It's always about that. Of course, this is closing out 2017, a year in which he won a 5th Super Bowl and another MVP, and could be an MVP regular season to go with it as the pass is down the field incomplete, intended for Hansen. Who would you vote for right now? I mean, you got Todd Gurley with a lot of impressive games late in the season. Of course, Wentz was in the discussion big time before he went out after week 13. Russell Wilson's had prolific numbers in the 4th quarter this year, but, you know, the Seahawks might not make the postseason. So where do you go with it?
It's Tom Brady, and I think it's to the point now where it's like Michael Jordan toward the end of his career. It's like you could give it to him every year. Someone else has to do something amazing to take it from this guy, and I just think he's the best player in the NFL. We're looking at the greatest quarterback maybe who's ever walked, and it's just he's in that position. He's the MVP of the league.
Timeout called by Petty before the 3rd and 6 snap.
I can tell you this: who do you want tomorrow on the field for you to have to win a football game? You're still taking him, right?
Oh, it's that guy right there.
And so to me, that if you're doing that, it's easy.
So when we chatted with Tom this week on his way into work, was that Thursday morning?
Yeah,
we were up in Wisconsin. We took the call rather early.
It was
earlier for some of us than others.
6:10 Tom's time. It's 5:10 my time.
Yes.
Pretty sure you were out in California at that time.
Yes, it was.
I can't do the math.
A little 3 in the morning.
3 o'clock, 3:10 in the morning.
Well, you know, one of the things we got into with him is what a great year it was for him on the field, but how did he characterize the year overall? And he got into a really deep discussion about personal growth this year. Faced a lot of tough challenges. He learned a lot, he said, as the pass is over the head of Sterling. And we've got an update before the punt. Boomer has the update in New York.
Hey, Jim, I'll talk a little bit about the personal growth of Rashard Higgins. His 2nd touchdown reception of the day from Deshaun Kaiser. He's certainly having a day. 7 plays, 68 yards. Game is now tied at 21. That was the first series the Browns had beginning of the 2nd half. Back to you.
All right, so the Browns have come back with 14 unanswered. So what did you take out of that chat with Tom?
Well, I think Tom is he's a coach now on the field. At this point, there's growth. He's learned so much, not just about the game, but himself through the years. And football will teach you a lot, and you'll utilize that in your daily life, and he does that all the time.
38-yard punt. Ball comes back to New England. 21-3 in front. Todd Bowles' mantra this year: one team, one goal. And they were 5-11 last year, then really went through a clearinghouse with the roster. Coming into this game at 5-10. 2 of the wins against AFC division winners, though, Jacksonville and Kansas City, 2 of the 5 W's. 1st and 10 for Brady. Right in the middle of the pocket. Almost picked off. That was Adams trying to get his first interception. We've got another update, and we go right back to Studio 43 in New York.
Non-stop touchdowns, Jim, out at Heinz Field. This time it is Juju Smith-Schuster. The rookie is going to take this kickoff 96 yards as they try to keep the Browns winless. They go up 28-21 over the Browns. Boy, what a game developing there at Heinz Field. Back to you, Jim.
No kidding. Back and forth they go. A second touchdown of the game for Smith-Schuster. Thank you, Boomer. And around Cooks. Nothing there. The Jets waiting for him. Now, where will the Jets be come springtime in the draft? This is, of course, pivotal because everyone knows they're going to try to go out and get a quarterback unless they get one through free agency, like a Kirk Cousins. You see, they come in to the week currently 7th position. This could change depending on other outcomes out there today. Could be as high at the end of the day as in the 4th slot and drop as low as 11 if they were to win the game.
That's a huge swing. That's why every fan out there, I can promise you, they wanted to play good, do some things, but just barely lose this game. That draft order means so much to the fan base, and the players, the coaches, they're trying to win this football game, but thinking long term, it is in their benefit.
Here's 3rd and 12, and it's bounced off the shoulder pad of Bolden. Yeah, they're looking for, Jet fans are looking for Denver to win today. Tampa Bay would help them with a win. San Francisco, there's all kinds of strength of schedule tiebreakers on and on. But given the fact they will have a high pick and cap room, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 million plus.
Wow.
Could look a whole lot different next year. It will be.
They can turn this around quickly.
So each team has had a pair of possessions that have gone 3 and out. Jets are going to have their best starting point at the 50. Got another flag, though, back in the area where the ball was punted. Near the line of scrimmage, actually.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 34, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
So that's just the 11th special teams penalty on the Jets this year. And here are the games coming up late this afternoon. Again, Baltimore is in with a win. Tennessee is in with a win. The Chargers in Buffalo hoping for other outcomes in those games. And the path to the playoffs, it can be a little convoluted if you're just looking at it, but let's just simplify it and just say again, those first 2 listed there, they control their own destiny. The Ravens playing against Cincinnati, and what many figure might be Marvin Lewis's last game for the Bengals. Might be a spirited effort by Cincinnati, which knocked off Detroit and took their playoff hopes away last week. So Baltimore, Cincinnati for some of you. Tennessee hosting Jacksonville in another one. And again, the Titans in a slump here, to say the least, late in the season. Need a win to get in. And there are some losing scenarios where these teams could also get in, I might add. But the easiest path, those two control it with W's. And next week we'll have a wild card game, Tony. We'll head to the playoffs. Who knows where it'll be? We'll find out later tonight. Could be a little Arrowhead appearance, perhaps. Could be in Jacksonville. We'll see.
Well, I have a funny feeling after it all plays out, we're going to be in either Kansas City or Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's good. That's the only 2 options, big guy.
Hey, I'm new at this.
You are a quick learner, man. Wherever it is, we can't wait to bring it to you. Here's Petty. Sideline pass out of bounds is Anderson. We talked to Robbie Anderson this week. This is a big deal to him to try to get a 1,000-yard season. Like we got players down over here. Petty also got hit late, a little bit low, but Anderson felt like it would be validation if he could have a 1,000-yard season. Here's Butler on the coverage.
Watch him spike this ball right here. So he's going to get up. He's not happy because the ball is a little, right in
it
his
hit
face.
Botamosi in the helmet.
And look at Botamosi play it up.
Whoa.
Look at him. He's like, wait, I can get a penalty. Oh, down goes Frazier.
He is out.
Hey, what's that ball doing? Oh.
Hey, on a cold day, it couldn't have felt that great. Here's Petty.
Ooh.
They got hit low with no flag by Trey Flowers.
That should have been a flag.
No question. 3rd and 9. Across the middle, not going to be enough. Tomlinson. So all of that, the low hit on Petty, the spike right into the chin of Bonamosi, and no markers.
What do you think about the spike? If you take me back there, Jim.
Hey, you know, you made a big deal the last 24 hours together about how that football is so, on a cold day like this, it doesn't feel the same. It's hard. It's like
does
a rock.
awkward things.
And it gets hit by a rock, in essence, you're telling me. In the chin. It can't feel great.
I'm
although
shocked he's
was it acting or was he?
Yeah. Hasn't gone to the locker room at this point.
Okay.
Hits you in the face mask. Here we go.
Punt bounces at the 4 and in for the touchback. We have not had a first down in 5 possessions between these two teams to start the 3rd quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com. And by State Farm, here to help life go right.
Our incredible technical team delivering all these quality shots in a frozen state. Here's a first down play action pass for another first down to Dorsett. His 2nd catch of the game, his 11th of the year.
Well, you see the juice that Dorsett has. He's fast. And they want to get him the ball and see him as this game goes on. Get him some reps and get him going his first year in the offense. He's got some ability, though.
That's the first down of the half. Kept waiting for Dorsett to have one of those big breakout games this year. It hasn't happened. He's only had, like I said, that was the 11th catch of the year. Here's the toss to Lewis, and he's thrown down after a gain of 6. Dion Lewis now up to 59 yards on 19 carries. Bring Devlin in as the fullback. And we see Dorsett move over to the left side, and they go back to Lewis. Jets meet him at the line for no gain.
See Brady slowly starting to slow the tempo down. Snapping it a lot later. The play clock and just wanting now to milk this a little bit and shorten the game. They want to get out of here without any injuries and feel good going in to their playoff game. Who do you think they're going to go against?
I would guess right now, you know, you have to project on some of these games late this afternoon, but I mean, it's going to be Baltimore or Kansas City, I think, in all likelihood.
And that can go either way. I really think that's going to end up happening, and that's a game. Baltimore knows they can come in here and win.
3rd and 4 pass, up and over the top to Bolden. Bolden splits the defenders and picks up the first.
And who beat New England to start the year? Kansas City.
I know, either way, it's going to be a lot of interest in that opponent coming in here.
See, watch this Brady. Everyone thinks he's throwing a bad ball or something. No, he's helping protect his receiver, throwing it low and away. It's happened 4 or 5 times today. When he gets just a normal read and there's not people around, he throws it out in front and he's accurate. Some of these throws today that look like Brady's missing on, he's thrown them in a very, very, protected spot to help his receiver and to protect him from the safety who's all around that level.
Here's Lewis using a little Le'Veon Bell hesitation move, and it works for him as well, all the way down to the 40. Well, we keep seeing when we do Steeler games, why doesn't someone else try to do that like Le'Veon, just dance around a little bit at the line of scrimmage, let something unfold? We're seeing Lewis do this several times today.
Great patience, great cut, great team in the booth for CBS.
Oh, the old bait and switch, huh?
You were looking at a card, you were looking all over. I just want to see if you were paying attention.
I'm always listening, pal. Longest play of the game for the Patriots. Now it's going to be maybe topped by this one. 17-yard pass. Well, actually running play by Lewis, and then 21. Yes, that back-to-back biggest plays of the game for the New England offense.
Simple deep in. Mike Cooks, Brady on target, on time.
Puts Brady's numbers at 16 of 30 for 145 and 2 touchdowns.
Got to motion the tight end. Yeah, they got to hand it off to the right.
That's Lewis dancing around. And, well, look at him. Fight and scrape for every inch.
And you're going to watch him go down the field right here, and then with this little cut right here, he's going to go.
That's where you need your. Yeah, there's your sound effects.
I knew you were waiting
I
for it.
was waiting for it.
I just want to make sure I can remember. I don't even know how to spell that.
I don't think you can.
Look at the day he's having. Last week, this week, I mean, really about halfway through the year, he just started to become the focal point from the backfield.
And it's worked out pretty well. Here he is. Look at this. Again, patience. Driving ahead. Great piece of running by Dion Lewis.
Have we seen anybody look like Bell like that?
No, that's it. That's the only
that
guy.
was a spitting image. Watch right here. Just a simple handoff. He's going to get there too early. He's going to beat the Polar Allen and just kind of stands there.
Waited for Shaq Mason and others to clear the way, and the Patriots methodically marching down the field. First and goal at the 7. Lewis earns another handle. Williams had him for a loss. Lewis turns it into a 1-yard gain.
If they score a touchdown on this drive, is there any chance that Belichick puts him and Brady down?
I would think so. At this point, yeah. Would it be 3/4 of action, 28-3 lead?
So you're willing to just go ahead and stake your...
But, I tell you, he's not like everybody else when it comes to that. He doesn't always do that.
No.
Gronkowski, by the way, is on the sideline. We've been seeing Allen on this series at tight end.
He already took Gronk out.
Give to Bolden. It's about halfway there.
Gronk's not hurt, right? We haven't seen anything that would tell us
Nope.
that he's injured, so that's a coach's decision right there. He's playing Allen. He's protecting. He knows the 1 or 2 guys that are going to make the big difference as this thing goes into January. And I think this, based on Gronk,
I've never seen a game where Gronkowski was healthy and he was not targeted. But wasn't needed. Hollister, the 3rd tight end. He's in motion. His drive's lasted now over 6 minutes. 3rd and goal. Brady still has it. Over the top he goes and out of reach for what would have been Cook's 2nd touchdown. And Brady's upset with himself.
you see a play action fake right there, and then he's got him. Cooks. The problem is he wants to make sure that they're... Now, if Cooks could have helped his quarterback, he could have came this way instead of running up the field, because it allows the defensive back to undercut you, and Brady has to be kind of safe because it's a 100-yard interception return otherwise.
Gostowski, 21 yards, and he got a field goal. And Gostowski now 37 of 40 on the year. Some of Tony's franchise changers in 2017, they all have a good story behind them. Sean McVay, Tom Coughlin from the executive ranks, Deshaun Watson, Garoppolo. Let's start with McVay.
Well, I think what you're looking at right now is, you know what New England did when they brought in Belichick and they got Brady? That changed the course of the franchise moving forward. You're seeing it happen in these 4 places right now, I believe. I think the Jets need to do something like this in the offseason. Find your guy right here, right here. That'll change the direction this thing goes moving forward. They think they found their Sean McVay, but you find a guy like McVay, you see what they're doing in LA, right? That team has a serious shot at a Super Bowl this year. Tom Coughlin, Jacksonville. No one saw that coming to this extent, did you? That's a tough one, because we knew they started to create some defensive talent.
And they went out in free agency last year and got guys like Malik Jackson,
Kalis Campbell,
guys from your old team, Barry Church. But, you know, hey, Deshaun Watson, Jets had a chance at him last year in the draft with the 6th pick, and they went Adams. Not that he's been any kind of disappointment, but again, is there going to be a player out there like Deshaun Watson in the draft this year?
There's always something out there, whether it's, you know, the Giants are trying to find one right now, and their GM, whatever their new head coach is going to be, possible quarterback. You know, it's the same thing. Cleveland, you get a guy like Watson, you get a Garoppolo. I mean, that changes the direction real fast.
Of course, the way Garoppolo has played has gotten a lot of attention around here. They were in quite a conundrum. What to do is, he had a contract situation coming up, and Brady's been talking about wanting to play another 3 or 4 years, and Tom's certainly showing, based on his play this year, he's capable of doing that into his mid-40s. That's his wish. So Garoppolo got traded for a second-round pick, and all he's done is win since he started at quarterback for the Niners. So the throw over to McGuire, picks up about 4, and again Harrison, one of those in on the tackle. And for some maybe wondering again about Hackenberg, not trying to push this agenda, but some of you may be asking, are we going to see him? And I think Todd Bowles pretty much answered that question at halftime in his interview with Tracy. Did not expect to play him here in this second half. He wanted to see more out of Petty. Petty, play action with a pass to Sterling, who's made some plays in the passing game. A third catch for Sterling for 54 yards. Petty, a very positive kid, Tony, when you visit with him. He's loved in that locker room, and they would just love to see him somehow calm himself down, just relax and play. That's something Todd Bowles talked about. As you see a Landon Roberts down on one knee.
Yeah, they want to see him just have poise and just not quite so quick through the progression. Like throw it, ball sails on him a little, and they think he's got some ability. They just want to. You got to at some point go show it, and he's shown some good signs. You just at some point you got to put the team on your back and get back-to-back scores, take them down.
So we're on a conference call on Friday with Petty when the news comes out that there had been a contract extension for Coach Bowles, and we were the ones to tell him. was he excited to hear that? Maybe immediately broke into, I love that guy. That's all I want to do is win for him.
I was surprised because most players at that moment would have been like, gosh darn it, again.
Oh, no, there's great respect there that Bowles.
Todd Bowles is a fantastic football coach, and the Jets have themselves, I think a winner and someone who will get this thing turned around. They just need that position, and McCown played pretty good for him this year when they were, all those games that were close.
Oh, yeah.
He allowed them to have a lot of that. You're seeing them right now without him get a little bit exposed, but they need a pass rusher, just somebody who can provide an edge rush because their interior is fine. They just get double teamed pretty much the whole game, and the outside singled up. And then on offense, they need themselves a quarterback, somebody to start this thing going in that trajectory you want.
Here's Roberts, a second-year linebacker out of the University of Houston, able to walk off to the sideline. But you mentioned McCown. He was, of course, the quarterback when they met October 15th against New England, and he threw for 354 yards against the Patriots. Of course, Iard with a fractured left hand here in early December. 3rd and 2. Well, that's a rough pass right there. Intended for Curse. And the Jets are going to punt it. They're 0 for 9 on 3rd down.
That's not a good 3rd down stat. You'd like to be at least 1 for 9.
Yeah, exactly. Start from there. Could have changed the game around.
Yeah, this is.
You don't win a lot of games when you're 0 for 9 on 3rd down. Edwards sending it back to Amendola. Signals fair catch. At the 29, he is bumped.
Hey, you can't bump me.
Stewart had bumped him.
They get bumped all the time. There's no flags on the play.
Amendola saying, wait, what's going on here? Did the officials say Danny?
Be the ball, Danny. Be the ball. And you see right there, Danny wasn't happy. But that happens all the time. No penalty.
So one more play, it appears, in the 3rd quarter. The Jets without a 1st down in the second half. Pass deflected and almost into the hands of McClendon, who was deflected by Jenkins. Patriots offense 246 yards. It's the #1 ranked offense in the league, which is a total yardage stat, averaging about 400 a game. Here's Brady, all kinds of time on this occasion to Lewis, again making people miss. Closes out the quarter, about 2 yards shy of the first. 3rd and 2 coming up to start the fourth. 15 minutes away from clinching home field throughout here in New England. Back at Gillette Stadium to start the fourth quarter with New England facing 3rd and short. Brady on a cold day. Yeah, it's 12 degrees. And number 12 is still in the game for this 3rd and 2 to start the fourth. Launching it deep, open, and he's got Cooks. And they're racing down. Gonna snap it quickly.
You're going to watch Cooks go inside and go whoop right to the sideline, and a perfect throw to the sideline by Brady.
I went for 37, and that's the longest play of the game by either side. Cooks, first season in New England, but 3rd straight year he's a 1,000-yard receiver. As Lewis gets stopped, pushed back, stays on his feet, and he's got a couple. So the Patriots appear headed on their way to locking up the home field advantage throughout as a 1 seed. And you've watched them all these years. Is this one of the great Patriot teams, you believe, ready to make a run all the way to Super Bowl 52?
They can definitely get it done. It's going to be a little tougher, I do think, just because they don't have that dominant defense. Now they're holding team point-wise, but they don't have that front 7 that can really just make you uncomfortable as a quarterback, play in, play out. So that part they'll have to overcome. And I think Tom Brady's going to have to have a pretty spectacular postseason for them to win a Super Bowl.
2nd and 7, wide of the mark for Allen. So what's the kind of team that they don't want to see in the playoffs?
The exact team I just described, who has a front 7 who can disrupt your quarterback.
What specific team? What would that team be?
Well, Pittsburgh's going to give them, for the first time I've seen Pittsburgh play them tight man-to-man coverage, and they made that a game. Now, in my experience, the Patriots adjust better than anybody from one game to the next, and so to use the same approach, it's difficult to get them a second time. But that's the team that you'd think right away just on paper because both sides of the ball. The team that I see is one of the top 2 seeds coming out of the NFC. You don't want to see those front 7s for Philadelphia and Minnesota. That's going to be tough for New England to score points. And I don't think they're slow. Ooh.
3rd and 7, no one there.
Yeah, he had him, just missed him by a yard there.
That close.
Yep, if he just thrown it a hitch route 14 yards shorter.
There is a flag. Is it another 3rd down penalty against the Jets defense?
There's a chance there's intentional grounding too. There's no one around it. He thought the receiver was going to run a go, and he stops, and sometimes that happens where you're not sure because he can do either one.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 12. 10-yard penalty plus loss of down. 4th down.
Hey, I got a little history for you that could be in the making right now.
By the way, real quick, Jim, you're going to see he's going to throw the ball right there, and there's no one there because...
Still no one there.
Well, you see Amendola there. He stops. He has the about... If he's pressed, a guy's up in his face, he gets to go deep. If he's off, so that guy was in between, and that made it difficult. This is tough now. You almost have to punt this, don't you?
Well, they're going to bring Gostowski out, and if he makes this kick, he would overtake Greg Zuerlein of the Rams, who's out for the year, IR, and become the regular season scoring champ for the 6th time in his career. No one has ever led the league 6 seasons in scoring. He's 3 points away from setting that mark. And he's going to have to do it. Well, now he's walking back toward the sideline. Timeout called by the Patriots. So Gostkowski, it was tied as the all-time record at the end of last season with 5 years of leading the league in scoring. Tied with Don Hudson, who did 5 times. Imagine that, from his position as a wide receiver, and Gino Cappelletti. So Cappelletti, Hudson, Gostkowski have led the league 5 different seasons. And now they're going to punt, so they're not going to get that chance after the timeout. They think it over and were denied that moment of history.
Yeah, I told Belichick, I said, you should punt this. You know, he's pretty astute with what I'm thinking, and so here we go.
Direct line down to the sideline.
Yeah, I think it's a good decision. It is. It's just that field goal would have been very difficult, getting great field position. Make him go the long, hard way.
There's Slater, the Pro Bowler again for a 7th consecutive year as a special teamer, and that's why. Well, it was rough from the start.
Penalty.
Whoop. Oh, still hurts. Well, the Jets will take the snap from the 4-yard line. They have been miserable in the 4th quarter this year, giving away a few games. Pass incomplete. Anderson took a hit, and there's going to be a flag for it. Anderson, one of the real breakout
Personal
performers.
foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 24, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Call on Gilmore, and Anderson has a word for him or two.
You could hear it. Ball outside, a little away. Gilmore tries to throw that shoulder and gets his helmet on him. That's
And they're going to go check. Yeah, got to go check on Anderson too.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that. You had to talk with Anderson.
I had a great chat with him the other day.
He's a nice kid.
Personable young man who really was excited about the possibility to try to, what he termed it somewhat like a validation to get that 1,000-yard season. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but who knows? There's a deep pass complete to Stewart. And Stewart with his first catch, first time he's been thrown to, and it goes for 46.
Watch, there's no safety in the middle of the field here at all. New England not respecting it in any capacity that they would actually throw this ball down the field. And
good pass.
Petty makes him play with Stewart right down the seam. I mean, Petty's done some good things today. They just haven't put any points on the board. And, you know.
Is Anderson going to be checked because of that hit to the head?
Well, he had a great season. But we didn't know much about him last year, did we?
No, I mean, just certainly emerged.
He's a player.
Pass complete at the 30 and down to the 27 is Curse. Of course, Anderson was mentored down in South Florida by Ocho Cinco, who had a brief spell as a member of the Patriots at the end of his career.
That was nice. I like that.
Yeah. Dishing out high fives to some of the security personnel here. He might, who knows, they go check him. Maybe he'll get back out here, have a chance at a long ball, which he specializes in. 2nd and 2. That's on target for another first to Neil Sterling.
New England playing a little softer right now after the big play. They're starting to keep everything in front of them, make them drive the field.
Matt Patricia, his team, the last 11 weeks, since week 5, we were down at Tampa for a Thursday night game. Since week 5, they've allowed the fewest points in the league.
It's unbelievable the job him and Belichick have done putting this together without really a lot of guys they thought they'd have to start the year.
Just giving up a little more than 14 points a game since that one. Swing pass And doing a good job to avoid negative yardage is McGuire for 1.
Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of the quick throw on the swing pass. I want to look people downfield, make them feel you down the field for a little bit, and then
make them back off, right?
Yeah, get them into their zone. If you throw it real quickly, the linebackers can just flow right to it.
That comes with experience, right?
Yeah, and they're calling a lot of, like, it's a swing route with a lot of short routes, too. I'd like to get more vertical routes and then throw the swing, things of that nature.
2nd and 9. Petty, pass. Oh, should have been intercepted by McCourty. It was intended for Sterling. He jumped in front of the tight end. Jets fortunate here.
Watch McCourty drive on this ball because the ball was a hair behind Sterling right there and just missed it.
They have not had a 3rd down conversion in the game. You got to go back 21 years since they were blanked for an entire game on 3rd down conversions. Try to eliminate that stat right here. Pass broken up by Gilmore. Intended for Curse. And they're going to kick it. Canizaro's coming out. So now the Jets will try to become the first team in 5 weeks to score on New England in the 4th quarter. This last month, the Patriots have won the 4th quarter 35-0 combined. 35-yard field goal. Is there any reason you're not going for it on 4th down? They put on 3.
No point to go for it there.
Explain that one to me.
All right.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by New York Life. With the right guidance, everyone can be good at life. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. And by the 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
Good. It's good.
Only fitting that we call a game in freezing weather on the 50-year anniversary to the day of CBS's presentation of the Ice Bowl. Dallas and Green Bay at Lambeau Field on the frozen tundra. It's 50 years ago today.
How was it when you called that one?
It was fun.
Okay.
A great time there with Ray Scott.
And
Yeah,
you must have been cold because they didn't have quite the heaters then. I'm telling you, this is a cold one, and you got to give it up to New England. They brought it today. And let's give it up to the Jets for kicking a field goal. And
why didn't they do that?
They got to go for it.
Because you're still down 3 scores now.
That's your coach telling you he doesn't believe you can actually win the game. He doesn't think his team can, and that in a negative way. He knows they have yet to move the ball other than that drive all game.
McCourty fields the short kick.
And you don't want to win the game if you're the Jets. I mean,
wait a minute.
I mean, they want the better pick, don't you?
I think if you had a chance to go in and take home field throughout away from your biggest rival, that you would go ahead and take dropping back 2 or 3 slots in the draft, if that's what it cost you to go into the season with that statement win.
Well, sure, as a player of the coaching staff, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about
that's what I was talking about.
No, yeah,
you're talking about fans.
From a fan perspective, you don't actually want to win this game. You want the higher draft pick, and everyone is rooting for him in that. They wanted to come out and play.
They want to win all year long then.
So here you go.
So Brady's still in the game, and as we mentioned earlier, this is a pretty standard operation for the way New England does things. As Lewis is wrapped up right away by Jenkins. Lewis has 8 yards to go for 100. Now, a month ago, Tony, he had never had a 100-yard rushing game in his career. Then he had one against Miami in the first matchup against Miami down or here. And then he had the 129-yard outburst against Buffalo, career high last week. So he's had actually 26 for 93. They gave him a yard on that play. They fake it to him here. Brady's pass, sideline, pull down Cooks, out of bounds.
Brady throws it on the sideline. Cooks, does he get his feet in? And that's in. Right foot. No.
Cooks with 5 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown.
I'd be smart right here with Brady. I'd throw a screen or something to get the ball out of his hands. He's been knocked down already 7 times in this game, which is a lot for a game that you feel pretty good about having already won.
He's in trouble here.
Yeah, he doesn't need this. Doesn't need it. And the ball's out.
McClendon finishes it off.
Illegal use of the hands to the face, 48 defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
And Jenkins wipes out a sack for the defense. Here's Jenkins doing this to Devlin. No, actually to Hollister. But again, you saw a play where Brady was exposed to a couple of defenders bearing down on him.
He'll go under 5 seconds now, snap, and just, normal running plays.
Bolden, nothing normal about this effort. Look at that. So Bolden erupts for 20 with this carry.
You're going to see, and this is a point in the game where the Jets, they know they're probably not winning the game, so no one's really going to put your body on the line with 6 minutes to go in your 8 minutes or whatever in your season, because you have to. To stop the run, you've got to get in there and be aggressive, and you get a big back like Bolden in there, you're going to see him run the ball again. Same exact play, just flip over the formation.
Here he is. He had 4 carries on the season coming in. This is his 5th carry today. And again, he doesn't go down without a fight. 3 Jets taken down after 2. And these hardy New England fans hanging in there with 8 minutes to go.
I'll give it to the Jets. They played hard.
Yes, they have.
You could have easily, at any point in this game, they could have called it a season. They're done. Just make sure you don't get hurt. I felt like they gave effort. They gave a commitment. That says a lot about your coach. That's why he got re-signed. His ability to get these guys to play hard and are committed to coming out and playing football.
There's Bolden down to the 39. I thought after that opening drive by New England that led to a touchdown that certainly would test the Jets' will early in this game.
Well, and when you get too far behind early and you're done, it's you're looking at risk reward sometimes, and that's not something you ever want your players to think about. But for the teams who miss the playoffs and are out for a bunch of games, it's on your coach to get these guys to play as hard as possible, and he's done a good job of keeping them committed to their craft.
Ball number 122 snapped into the hands of Brady, and around with Cooks. Adams waiting for him, pushes him out. Jets defense doing its job that time. Take a look at this high end zone replay, masterfully presented by our replay producer extraordinaire, Ryan Galvin, the Big Tree.
We call him the Big Tree. Do you know why that is, Jim?
Love to know.
No, I was asking, do you know why that is?
No, I thought it was, we've had a few names for him. You thought it was Brian until about mid-season. Then you found out it was Ryan.
What is it? It's not Brian?
No.
Oh.
It was Paul for a while.
I did write him a thank you note and said, thanks, Paul.
No, he's tremendous. Part of this crew. Look at Slater again. That's the second time he has been responsible, by the way, along with Ryan Allen, for pinning the Jets inside the 5. Again, Slater does his thing as well as anyone's ever done it. Steve Tasker-esque. I put those two up there like that. 7-time Pro Bowler, downing the Jets at the 4. And here is the handoff to McGuire. McCourty waiting for him. Gain of 3. Tracy, back to you.
Jim, I have officially given in. I have put the helmet on. My lips are freezing. I'm having trouble talking right now, but no. I just keep thinking about being in Florida 2 days ago, sitting on the hammock talking to the Jets. So that's going to keep me warm for a little bit longer throughout this game.
Way to go. Our MVP. Way to go. 2nd and 7. Pass wide of the mark for Sterling.
It's funny because Jim's taking his coat off and his sweater up here.
It's toasty.
He's getting a little hot.
He came armed with all kinds of heated blankets and all kinds of help.
And this is the New York Jets temperature, which is 11 degrees. And their first downs are 10. Not sure how that relates to each other.
You ready to see if they can really?
But it's pretty cold out.
Can they break the third down drought from the end zone? Absolutely impossible. Safety. Eric Lee. And that draws a big round of applause by the quarterback.
Well, you see Petty just drift a little bit to the right and gets into trouble. Right there, you got to throw that football, and Lee gets a hold of him and takes him down. It's been a rough day for Petty and this Jet offense.
10 first downs, 199 yards of offense. Now surrendering a safety. They'll be free kicking it to the Patriots with 6 minutes to go and a 26-6 ball game. Brian Hoyer warming up.
A little earlier than I thought.
Eric Lee, another one of those late season finds. Started the year in camp with Houston, found his way to Buffalo's practice squad, and we've had a number of games where he has come up with big plays, and Patriots signing him about 5 weeks ago off that practice squad. Come in, made a pick. Now got 3.5 sacks. It's funny how those things happen. A couple of teams couldn't find a way to get you on the field, but you got the defending Super Bowl champions do, and he makes plays for you. That's Chung. Waiting and taking the blow at the 29. And here comes Brian Hoyer at quarterback. We've seen the last of Tom Brady on the field in 2017. Tom goes out with 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. Hoyer, who began the season with the 49ers, started a bunch of games, and the same day that the Garoppolo trade was executed, he was waived by the 49ers. And again, funny how it works out. I just said it. He gets signed right behind that by his old team, the team that brought him into the league. Golden met by a handful of Jets.
And so Brady now is going to finish with about 4,577, 4,577 yards, give or take, whatever, a couple. Let's not do my math perfectly here. And then 32 touchdowns, 8 picks, and I think you're looking at the 2017 MVP in the National Football League. What did I say, 45-77, 32-8?
Your math was actually spot on there, your boy. 4-to-1 touchdown to pick ratio. Pretty good year. You think about it, in the calendar year, he wins a Super Bowl MVP, and now in all likelihood wins the regular season MVP. Down the field, the pass over the head of everyone. Dorsett was the Patriot target.
And that's at 40 years old. Tom Brady just did that this year. I think we're watching something we may not see again. I know we're watching what the Patriots are doing in this day and age after free agency came about, and I believe, what was it, 93?
Right.
I don't think we're ever going to see this again. It's just, there's too much stuff that has to go right for this to happen. And give him credit. This whole organization, Mr. Kraft started it, hiring Belichick.
3rd and 10.
And then
Dorsett.
drafting Brady. From there it was on.
So Brady, you talk about 40-year-old quarterbacks. And these are guys that you would have seen play, okay? It's not like it's yesteryear. But Steve DeBerg, you remember DeBerg? He played in this league when he was actually 44 years. At 9 months, he started a game for Atlanta. That was about 20 years ago. Warren Moon started a game in Kansas City at 44 years old. And Vinny Testaverde at Carolina. You know Vinny. You guys were teammates briefly. 44 years starting a game for the Panthers.
You have to live and breathe it.
Inflammation on the defense. That's a 5-yard penalty, which results in a first down.
Did he say 12 men? Information? I think he meant formation, but he might have said inflammation.
Well, as
12
Tracy
men
said, it's
have
hard.
inflamed the defense.
It's hard. Tracy even showed us it's hard to get the mouth moving.
It is, actually.
You know, the words aren't coming out quite as cleanly as everyone would hope.
I don't know, though. I thought Tracy was near that heater the whole time, and I thought she sprinted to give that last on camera right there, but she's a trooper for being outside today.
Holden. You look at the Patriots now getting, again, can you imagine this as a player? 8 consecutive years earning a bye the first week of the playoffs?
Well, it's a testament, like we talked about, to the whole organization and Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. And, you know, that guy right there, that's the difference of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Kraft. The three of them are special at each one of, you know, what they are, owner, coach, quarterback. But, man, when you combine them and you get a Belichick and a Brady like that, it's just, it doesn't happen in sports very often. You get the best at each spot of what they do. And I'm going to talk about this in the playoffs more, but
Holden for another carry for 2 as Allen spins around on his own. This is some of what you were just talking about.
And that consistency in football is just not, those aren't real. You know, you don't get this kind of consistency for this long, and this wins and this conference titles and Super Bowl appearances, and you know.
And then you go on to the divisional round. Again, they'll have that game here at Gillette on either Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks' time. You're 1 win away from going to an AFC championship game for the 7th straight year. It's 3rd and 5. You win 1 game, you're playing for the right to go to the Super Bowl. 7 consecutive years in that championship game.
And that's after you'd already won probably, what, 3 Super Bowls by that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about before, there's before Gronk and after Gronk in Brady's career. And he had those great defenses when he was young, and then all of a sudden, you know, they've had him here and there sporadic, but he turned to an offensive juggernaut. Brady carrying the team at different years. And
ball bouncing. Look at that kick. Brian Allen's having a big-time day here, folks. How about 3 times inside the 5? That's 53 yards and out of bounds at the 3. He's had only 3 touchbacks on the whole year. It's not updated yet, but New England on its way to 13-3 and securing the 1 seed, and Minnesota, meanwhile, is taking on Chicago in this same window, and Minnesota's been up on the Bears throughout that game, which will keep the 1 and the 2 as it was coming in, with Philadelphia already having secured the 1, but Minnesota locking down the 2, securing that if it goes off and finishes things against the Bears. So Robbie Anderson, we saw him go to the locker room. He's never returned to the field. He was checked for a concussion earlier in this quarter. Here's 2nd and 5. Dump off to Powell for a first down and out to the 19. So the Jets are going to sit out the postseason for a 7th consecutive year. They got off to that fabulous 3-2 start that no one saw coming. And that's exactly where they stood when they went into the game against New England. Had a chance to beat them that first time around. Controversial call that was, in the end, ruled not a touchdown for Safarian Jenkins. And another catch there for Kearse. But they'll lose 9 of their last 11. Finishing 5-11 for the second straight year, but as you've documented several times, the tenor of this 5-11 team versus last year when they thought they might make a playoff run, coming off of 2 years ago when they lost on week 17 at Buffalo that would have gotten them in the playoffs back in 15. And then last year thought, well, maybe this will be the year. It wasn't to be. So they knew they had to go out and completely blow things up. Young kids, better attitude.
You're right, Jim.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, brewed to be enjoyed responsibly. And by Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side.
Back for the last minute and 57 seconds at Gillette Stadium.
This is what the Jets are going to remember going to the offseason.
These last 2 minutes.
Minute 50.
I can't wait to hear why.
Well,
we're going to see.
If you're the Jets, you want to go down this field and you want to possibly get inside the 35-yard line.
Okay. Bring it to a close there.
Well, because then you feel comfortable like, hey, we're gonna move this ball and no one's gonna stop us.
Okay.
Nothing's gonna stop us now. All right, Jim.
Here we go.
There's nothing left to talk about.
Pretty much said it all. Petty on the run. Tries to get the ball over to Natson. Again, these are some crucial games coming up. We've got things to decide here on CBS. Baltimore with a win is in. Tennessee with a win is in. However, should that not happen in either case or in both cases, the Chargers and the Bills are holding on to some hope. Of course, they need to go do what they need to do as well. Chargers against the Raiders, Bills against Miami, Kansas City at Denver, nothing on the line for that one, although Patrick Mahomes will start today for the Chiefs in that game. That's all coming up on CBS. Here's Petty on the throw, incomplete as Harmon got his hands on it. So Petty getting these starts the last 3 weeks as this guy right here, 38-year-old Josh McCown, had to sit down the rest of the season with that fractured left hand. He was voted by his teammates as the MVP of the season for the Jets.
I want to know what camera guy is so gifted he knows that's Josh McCown. That's impressive.
That's Mike Arnold, actually.
Mike Arnold,
Mike Arnold
credit because
and Brian Kozowski too.
No, just Mike Arnold.
Okay, you're probably right. Last chance to pick up a first on third down as Petty guns it well over the head of Stewart. Steelers game has gone final, and the Steelers, they gambled. They set down Roethlisberger, they set down Bell, and they still won.
This is pretty early, though. We're giving New England the win here?
That's Jim Rickoff. He's a daring guy.
Normally,
he's a riverboat gambler.
I tell you, it's 26.
Jim, riverboat gambler Rickoff.
New England's 1 seed. You got Pittsburgh at 2, and I'll tell you, you're going to get that Kansas City, possibly Baltimore that we're talking about. Once again, both those teams possibly coming into New England. That is one matchup right there. Both those teams feel comfortable coming in here, and not a lot of teams would, but I feel like both those teams feel like they can come in here and win.
Petty gets away from Adam Butler on 4th and 10 and completes it to Sterling for the first. So the Patriots, this is going to be their 7th time as a #1 seed. And 5 of the other 6 times when they were the 1 seed, they went on to the Super Bowl.
What was the one time they didn't? Do you got it? I'm going with the Jets.
The Jets, and that was in the divisional game right here in 2011. Sean Green had a touchdown, and the Jets came in here and won that game. January 2011.
I thought I had you because I was going to say the 2010 season.
It was 2010 season.
You were right. You had it.
It's down for Petty. Pass. Wobbler. Down incomplete. Intended for Hansen.
Can we get a close-up replay on that one? Because I feel like that might have gotten stuck in his face mask. If it literally looked like it hit him right in the face mask. Let's see if we can get a close-up on this.
Listen, our replay producer, Ryan Galvin, You asked for a replay. He's
There
got
was. Do we have an even closer look? That's pretty good. Petty actually throws a good ball right here, and he gets his hand hit. It's got to be twice as bad in this weather.
2nd and 10. Good throw there. Oh, were the feet down? Bonamosi says no, but the official says yes. So Hansen with the catch. Oh, I don't know about that right foot. It's close. Inside 2 minutes. Do they stop things here for a moment? Ryan Bollinger, the official, was right there.
I think we
Check
should
the
go to-
right foot.
Yeah, that's in. Although we should head to New York. Get a replay to show it's going to stand.
Okay. Is that what you want? You haven't had enough of those? Good catch. Good job by Hansen. Here's Petty.
There's Harrison.
Ball knocked out of his hands by Harrison and recovered by the Jets' Carpenter. How about James Harrison? He's had a nice game here, Tony. He's made some plays.
He has, and you know they're going to use him in spot duty and give him stuff where he knows the plays. You see him get wide as he gets around the edge and gets right around Beacham and just gets to the quarterback.
By the way, one thing a lot of folks are saying, well, they're going to bring in Harrison. He's going to give us all the secrets about the Steelers. I don't know how many secrets there are. They've played so many times through the years. But one thing to remember, if they play Kansas City in the divisional round, Harrison's one sack coming into the day was against Eric Fisher and the Chiefs, and he's had his way against Kansas City in the past. It might have been a little to do with that, too. As they get to Petty again with James Harrison.
And he was double-teamed on that play. Jimmy was double-teamed.
This is news that will travel rather quickly to the Steel City. These couple of plays.
You're exactly right. It's a great point you brought up on Kansas City. When he was active and they played him, one of the final drives in that Kansas City-Pittsburgh game, James Harrison came in. He's had a great career against Fisher in that matchup, and there it is.
It's final. 26-6. Coming up next, game 2 of our doubleheader for Tony and Tracy and all the crew. Jim Nance saying so long from New England. We'll join James Brown in New York after this. Happy New Year, everybody!